Alright, well, how you doing? This is my first painting class. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while, and finally I recorded the last painting that I did, and I think it's good enough to start the class going, and from here it should only get better and a little bit easier to follow. I'm still working on some of the camera angles, trying to figure out how to focus on the painting palette as well as the painting and the subject, all while I'm making a painting. But basically, this is a painting class for people who feel that they can't draw, and it's really an introductory class, but you will get better at painting, because painting is a lot like playing an instrument or exercising. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. So how we're going to get around the drawing is, I'll have a picture like this on my website, and you can pull it right onto your desktop and print it out. So what we have is the subject that you're going to be painting, and underneath it is a drawing in reverse. So all you need to do is trace that drawing with a charcoal pencil and then transfer the drawing onto what your painting surface is. So let's do that right now. And the drawing is in sort of a gray-blue ink, and that way you can see where you've drawn and where you haven't with the charcoal pencil. And then you want to cut along this black line that will print out with the picture and separate the two images. And there's also two reference lines, and we'll cut along those. Well, now we're going to talk a little bit about the surface, and since I've got a wood shop, I generally will just cut a bunch of pieces of wood at 5x7, and I like that size because it's a standard size, and if I don't make a nice painting, well, it's only 5x7 inches, and you know, it's a casual approach to painting, so you don't get too stressed out. Now, if you don't have a wood shop at your disposal, you could just paint on cardboard. You could paint on a pizza box, you could paint on a shipping box, just cut it into 5x7, and then prime it with gesso. And if you don't have gesso, you could start with just regular white wall paint. Okay, well now we're ready to transfer the drawing. And I'm using a piece of cardboard. It's just a shipping box that I've cut into a 5x7 square. And now I'm going to take the drawing that's got the charcoal on it and place it on the 5x7 square. And then just rub over the drawing with my finger. You can see through the paper, so just rub right around where that drawing is. Alright, now we can see that we've got the lemon in the cup. And if you want to go back while it's still sort of fresh before you start painting, you can darken in some of these lines with a pencil. And then what I like to do is put the painting that I'm going to work on this little easel that I made, and then I have the subject matter underneath, and it's very easy just to go back and forth with your eye as you work on the painting. Alright, well now we're ready to start painting, and if you decide you want to paint along with me, I'll put a list of some of the materials you'll need to get started, and it will be under the post first painting class, or painting class number 1. Alright, enough said, let's get to work. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is just put a little yellow on that lemon, just to break the ice. And now I'm going to look at the background. It looks kind of like a gray-blue. Mix up a little, I guess that's flake white, and I'll grab some of this blue over here. And maybe get a little paint thinner just so I can really wash it over the background. And this is just a base. I'll go back into it, maybe get a little lamp black and maybe some burnt umber, and knock that color down a little bit. And now I'm going to take a look at this board here that the lemon is and the cup are hanging out on. I've got a little yellow and some of the white and some of that burnt umber, and I'm just defining the space around this cup. And I'll put a little bit in that cup too, and then I'll come back at it with just maybe a little pure white or flake white and start to shape that out a little bit. And then you can see that there's a shadow over here because the light source is from over here and we've got a bit of a shadow. So I'm going to darken that up a little. You see what I'm talking about? This darkness over here. And I'll add a little bit of the darker color on my palette here. And maybe some of this brown and see what happens. And maybe I'll just try to put a thin line in there. And then also, you see that there's this shadow here, this dark spot. I'll put that over here and see what happens. Maybe I'll take a dry brush now and try to feather that around a little bit. I think I'll go back and put a little bit more time into the lemon now and see if we can make that start to take some shape. And I'll define it right away, just give my eye something to focus on by putting that little spot there where the lemon is attached to the tree. And since I've got some darker color here, maybe I'll define this space a little bit, this shadow between the cup and the lemon. And I'll bring that around here. And then I'll maybe throw some of that darkness right there. And now I'll mix it in a bit with a brush. Maybe I'll throw a little white. Maybe a little bit of white over here and see what that does. That's got a little blue on it. So I'll try to, I'm really far gone over there. That didn't work out too well. Let's see if I can deaden it up a little bit. I'm seeing a little, maybe a little orange, if I can get a little red and a little yellow and get something happening there. Sort of a bit of a warmer color here. And underneath the, what would you call that? The stem, I guess. And I'll feather that in a bit and see what happens here. And I'm just going to take that brush with a little gray on it. I'll put some blue on the brush. Maybe grab some white and some more of this warmer color again. And just fool around with this background for a bit. I don't like that blue. It's really shocking. It's really bright. I want to knock that down a little. And I'll try to come right down to the lemon, get real close to the lemon, and see if I can fill in this space between the cup here. And that's looking a little bit better, and then I'll start to deal with that cup. That cup is an odd color. See, that's the thing with painting. You have to try to figure out what these colors are. You know, if we look down here, this is this really nice, warm, gray, kind of yellowy color. And I really don't know how to go about that, so I'm just going to try to creep up on it somehow. But you know, see this part right here? See how dark that section of the cup is? I'm going to try to deal with that, and maybe that'll help me get to having an overall feel of what this color is. This might be too dark, but ooh, yeah, it is. So now I'll lighten that up a little bit, grab a little paint from the palette here and see what we can do. Now it's too light. Just go and throw it in there. And I want to throw some darker color in over here. That starts to define the inside of the cup. And then maybe I'll try to, maybe I'll get my brush a little bit clean. And we'll go back and just grab some pure white. And see, well, pure white with a dirty brush, so, you know, maybe there's definitely still some color on there. And, you know, maybe there's a bit of green in there. I'm going to try some of this green. There's a tad of green. And I want to define the lip of the cup. And I'll again get some white on the brush. And you know what's cool? Check this out. The light. You'll just see an immediate piece of light. As soon as well, let's take a look at the cup first down here. See that little bit of white? That light there? Let's see if we can make that happen. So I've got some pure white on my brush, and I'll just... That didn't work. Damn it. Alright, let's just try it with a cleaner brush. Wow, this isn't working the way I wanted to, but it's kind of there. It's kind of getting there. And maybe come in here and put a little bit right there. Start to see some light. And I'm going to put a little bit more work now into the piece of wood that the lemon and the cup are sitting on. There's a little bit of orangey yellow down here, so I'm going to try to get that happening. I'm just down here working on my palette here. I don't keep the nicest palette. Something I need to work on. Okay, so I've got some color on my brush, and let's see what happens. Because really, you know what is happening is the color is reflecting off of the lemon onto the board. And so that's what I'm trying to mirror here. And that kind of is working, I think. Bring it over. And then I'm going to dirty my brush up and just try to pull it all over. All right, now when I look at the cup and I come down here to the photograph, the information's there. You can see there's a little bit of that shadow from the lemon on the cup. So I want to bring some of that darkness, and I also want to make the space that I have in my painting a little bit darker like it is here. So again, I'm going to grab some of this. I'm basically just taking some of the, let's focus for a second. How's that work? I don't know. Grab some of this and come back up and see what happens. Yeah, that's all right. And I'll bring some of that dark color in there. You can see my brush. I'm not really using a very good brush, but sometimes I like that because it doesn't. The painting then doesn't look so contrived. And maybe I'll use a dry brush and smooth that out a little. Okay, that's a little bit better. And then, you know, what's happening is there's a piece of light back here that if I can make that happen, that should start to give some dimension to this painting. So what I want to do is get a little bit of the white, and maybe a tad, just a little bit of the burnt umber, and see if I can put that basically right here. That's alright, I guess. And then check out this section over here. There's a lot of light in the photograph right here. So maybe we can get some of that light. Grab a little white here and see if we can brighten up the board. Ooh, I don't like that gray though. Yeah, I got gray on my palette. Alright, I want maybe a tad yellow. Ooh, I don't like that either. Jeez. I'm just gonna grab pure white and maybe a tiny bit of gray off my palette. All right, and you know, if I put a highlight on this lemon, that might pop that lemon a little bit. See what happens here. That might be good. A little bit of yellow and brown mixed up to add a little dimension to the lemon. Maybe right in here. And down in, sort of down and around. Alright. And then I'm going to bring some more white into this section and see if I can make that porcelain, because the cup's got a porcelain surface and I want to have that reflective quality. Not sure if I'll be able to get it. Let's see if I can find a clean brush. And again, I'm just going right back to the white. And I'll hit, let's see what happens if I don't know if I want to go pure white. I'll grab a little bit of the gray off of my palette. Little gray, tiny little bit of brown, more white and some yellow. And a tiny bit of green maybe. It's a little green, a little bit more yellow, and I'm not close. I don't like that. So a tiny bit of blue, and now a lot of white. I'm having problems here, I can tell. I don't know. A little bit more white. Alright, I'm gonna go for it. Here we go. Alright, I'm good with that. Alright, well, I made that painting last night and I had a lot of fun with it and it worked out, but that's not always the way it goes. Sometimes the paintings just don't work out, but the beauty of working small like this is you can just scrape the paint off and paint over. Now next time we're going to paint seascape, and that's a fun painting because it's a very easy painting to approach. It's really just a couple of horizon lines, and we'll be fooling around with some colors, maybe some blues and grays and things like that. I hope you'll tune in. I'll see you next time.